working the office side, that, you know, just remember there used to be a fax machine and there was a photocopier and then everybody had their own printer. Well, that's a lot of devices too that have to be managed, a lot of cost and a lot of consumables, a lot of energy. In our particular program where we're consolidating, you know, we save $4 million just by putting a store together with real estate around that. And we now pay by the page printed, but we have these multifunction devices that do everything. They're much more reliable. Print quality is much better than the original stuff. So, you know, very powerful solution there. On the desktop side, making sure you have Energy Star settings turned on for PCs is a good thing. I was telling one of the fellows here earlier, we did some calculations that just turning the monitors off at night, you know, if they're in standby mode and you have CRTs, because we have so many computers on the environment, and when you just have them in standby mode, those couple of watts multiplied by the number of devices, multiplied by the number of days and the number of hours, times even only 6 cents a kilowatt hour, which is low for certain areas, it adds up to be over $300,000 just for the privilege of leaving them on at night. Now, there were some fallacies about, well, if I turn them on and off, I might break them. They've long fixed that problem, so don't worry about that. So, you know, little things like that too, when you're away from your desk, having it go into standby mode, that means the screensaver is not on there because that's not saving you any energy. But, you know, basically you need to have those settings turned on because they really do save a lot of money. And a lot of companies, according to climate savers, are still not having those basic features turned on. Of course, the last thing that I've got here is when you compare the energy used in a laptop versus a desktop, a laptop is about 30 to 40% less energy than a fixed desktop. We recognize some of our jobs need fixed desktops, but we have a very high deployment of laptops, and this gives us tremendous mobility. So like when we have hurricanes and people want to work from home, well, they've got their office with them, so they can very easily do that. So it gives you some mobility solutions as well as business continuity from that perspective. Then the last thing we've got here, Nortel runs 3 main recovery centers, and we also work with Hewlett-Packard for our computing disposals. We run through at least about 10 million pounds of network gear that we get back from our vendors, and only about 3.5% of it ends up in landfill because they take the stuff apart, they grind up, they sell off the metals, things like that. In Europe, the actual spec, I believe, is try to do better than 75%. Here we are, we're well into the 90s. Okay, so you know, this is very important because there's money to be had in the recycling side, and of course we don't want the stuff, especially some of the metals in these products, to be ending up in landfill or be the subject of some of those pictures that some of you may have seen from China, which are just horrible. You know, just to be very blunt about that. So the answer here is that there is no single one on what you need to do. There's a number of aspects you have to go after. You can't afford a forklift on your environment. I don't know any IT group that has that much money in their budget that they can just take away a whole environment. These things are all done over time. But by focusing on these things, you can get greener and greener. You'll see this coming up in the next set of charts. So let's start with the data center strategy. This is an important thing to have because it really helps to set the agenda of what you're going to be doing going forwards. I liken the data center to be kind of like the brain of the company, okay? And what you need to be able to do is move towards central and have them standards so that you've got maximum commonality because you can't have different answers for the same problem. Most companies can't afford that. So IT groups are always under budget pressures. We need to be focusing on things that are repeatable, allows us to learn from that and advance things. But there will be some regional differences. So for us, we've got a recognized set, and we've been dropping down the numbers, so you'll see that on an upcoming chart. And you know, these things allow us then to focus on the efficiencies in the room. You've heard me talk about the location transparency. Because we've been able to get better pricing on network links over time, because DS1s used to be expensive. Now you can actually afford a DS3 for the price of the DS1. That's like roughly about 45 times the bandwidth kind of thing. And, or no, 28, I guess it is. But anyhow, the bandwidth prices have come down so much that you can actually start to look at how do I reduce the number by centralizing. But you don't want to just take all the servers you've got, pick them up and move them. We went through that exercise and analyzed it and said, well, look, why move them if we're going to get rid of them? Why not get rid of them where they are and close down the room and move only what we need to, and then start asking, well, if we're going to refresh something, why does it need to go there? Really understand the reasons why we're putting servers and storage into those data centers, so that, if there's a good reason, and there's some coming up, you're just not on autopilot. You put it in the right place, that helps you get to the central model, and it's a journey. Lastly, you really do have to work with other groups like real estate and help educate them on the differences of what a data center needs versus regular space. Also to help them understand the cost. Originally, our conversations were more around, hey, I need another plug to plug in this server. Can you put one in for me? Versus now, it's kind of like, we need to relay out the room, we need to work the set points, we need to talk about hot and cold aisles, and all kinds of different things that we used to never talk to them about, because they've realized that the amount of money being spent in a data center for electricity is very expensive. So you need to move beyond just the four walls. But this means you don't look at the four walls, but you've got to look beyond the four walls as well. So here's some of the reasons why you would need more than one data center. Certainly business continuity is the first reason. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. But in other places, if you're a global player, you might have regulatory rules that say this type of data has to stay in this country. Therefore, you've got to have an answer for that. Other things like latency-sensitive applications, where just the application's design does not let you centralize it. Some of our software development environments have problems like this. And we've done a number of different things to try to alleviate it, but still, short of a massive redesign, we've got to have a few centers where those things are closer to those users. Other things like high bandwidth, where they are, and the cost of that bandwidth is expensive, there's a trade-off you'll have to make to put the server there. So, there's a number of key reasons, and you've got to look at each one. There is some combination of them. But you can do consolidation. And it's not going to be easy, though, because you need a business case. Everything we do is business case based. And when we look at some of the re-architecting of this stuff, it's so expensive that it's better to just let it sit there and go through its life cycle. And as it comes up with some of the opportunities, whether it's a business transformation from the C-level office to, hey, this stuff is up for a refresh. And even then, we ask the question under refresh, well, do we need to refresh it? Because some of the servers, they're still working very well, and you can soak them a bit longer. Some people would like you to replace them every 3 years. That's a pretty expensive proposition. We've got some servers that are running, 8 years or longer. And unless they're really breaking a lot, and even some of the applications that reside on them may not work on the newer platforms and operating systems, so you're kind of a bit locked in there, and you really got to work an overall transformation to move something better. So, these are all things that pace how fast you can do some of these changes to